What is going on, guys? It is Jack, or the Modern Day Gamer here, and welcome to my review for the Mirror's Edge Catalyst closed beta. Now, I have been anticipating this game's release for a very, very long time. This is a game that countless other gamers like myself have been really excited to finally play, and DICE and EA actually decided we're gonna make a closed beta. They announced that about 4 months ago, and here is my review in it. And I was lucky enough to actually get myself a code so I could get into the closed beta. I've put about 4 to 5 hours into it, and I'm just going to give you my quick opinions on it and what I think is good, what I think is not so good. Now, to start with the good, I think that the story this time around is actually a lot better. It wasn't the best in the first game. In fact, I didn't really understand what was happening in the first game half the time. If you wanted me to tell you, what the story of the first game was, I don't really think I could explain it too well, other than the fact that your sister got framed, a guy got shot, and then you just had to do a bunch of random missions through linear corridors. That's really the best way I can describe the first Mirror's Edge. The story this time around is actually more or less a reboot. It kind of feels like the whole events of the first game actually are not canon in this version. And I mean that as in, in the first game, it was set in the sort of near future. This game feels like it's set in the distant future. There's flying cars, there's just there's high-tech police, there's just a bunch of stuff. It just doesn't seem like it would be set in the same universe as the first game. There's also some characters that are never mentioned, like Merc, who was from the first game. This time we have a guy called Noah, who we don't know too much about in this beta, other than the fact that he is sort of a father figure towards Faith. Besides that, though, the story seems serviceable enough. There's a villain in the game called Gabriel Kruger, who we don't know too much about. We don't know why this guy is so bad or what he's done. So we are going to have to find out in the actual game. But graphically as well, the game looks absolutely stunning. This is without a doubt one of the best games I've played on a next-gen system, or a current-gen system. I'm going to start calling it a current-gen system now. And it just looks fantastic. The character models look really great, and the CG cutscenes look even better. It just looks so nice, and he did a great job with it. The first game looks phenomenal. It even looks great on a console. It looks glorious on a PC. In this game, I'm playing this on PS4. It looks phenomenal. Obviously, it'll look better on PC, but this game is just amazing, and EA games usually always are, and this game is definitely no exception. It was beautiful to play, and the sort of white, blue, red, and yellow sort of colors and corridors in the game definitely make it a very sort of significant graphical style that will definitely make it, stick into your head, long after you've finished it. And that's kind of what happened with the first game as well. But the thing that's the most important in a Mirror's Edge game is the gameplay. In the first game, the gameplay was really good. There were a few flaws here and there, like the combat wasn't good and the shooting wasn't. But DICE has actually pretty much redefined every major problem that the first game actually had, and they've kind of just improved on it. So, for one, the combat in the game is way better. It is so much better. And, yeah, some people might argue it is just button mashing. You are actually just mashing down square or X or whatever you use on PC. I don't know the PC controls unless you're using a controller. But as you can see now, as I'm about to get in some combat, it's just way more redefined. But the best sort of combat is actually the traversal combat. This is where, when you are running, you're at a constant speed and you don't want to lose your momentum. And if you come in contact with an enemy, you will press either the triangle or Y or X to attack them instantly, and it will be pretty much an instant knockout. It's just so much better, and it's so much more redefined than the first game, and you can do some really amazing finishes in it as well. It's just phenomenal. I really, really like the combat this time around. And there's no guns, which I'm really happy about. I'm very happy that this game has no guns, because in the first game the gunplay wasn't that good either, but I didn't want to use guns anyway. Anytime I would play Mirror's Edge, I just wanted to play it without guns completely, and that this time around I'm just happy that they didn't take that route and using guns. I'm really happy with it, and the parkour is phenomenal. Seriously, I mean, it's Mirror's Edge. We all know this is going to be some of the best parkour you're going to play in a game. And while it definitely is a bit, it does take a little while to get used to at the very beginning, it is worth it in the end to see the tricks that you can pull off as Faith. There are also upgrades this time around, which are actually quite, I actually thought was quite surprising, but I'm actually happy that they're there, because you can because there are these yellow bright orbs that you will come across in your time in the open world, and you use these to further upgrade Faith's abilities. And this can vary from, buying your first roll to getting your first 360 degree, and then there's also combat like stuns. There's a lot of upgrades you can get in the game, and they actually are very serviceable, and it makes you want to keep exploring the open world to get these orbs to keep progressing in the game so that you can get even more awesome upgrades. Now, the voice acting, as also, I don't have any complaints with it either. They did get a new voice actress to play Faith this time around, Faye Kingsley, I believe her name is. She does a fine job. I don't really have a problem with the voice acting. I don't have a problem with the voice acting pretty much in general. However, the guy that does voice Noah, I do feel like he sounds quite a bit like George Clooney. That is just me. I'm weird, but that is just kind of how I think. And pretty much on all ends, the acting-wise, voice acting, it's really, I don't have anything to complain about. It's actually pretty good. Now, the open world design is obviously what the first Mirror's Edge was basically built for. If you didn't know, the first Mirror's Edge was actually just a linear-based game where you would have to just go through the linear missions, and you would be put on a path, and it really felt like the game was built for an open world. And coming from someone who adores the first Mirror's Edge, I'm so happy that they went open world this time around. This was what everyone wanted. And to some people, I understand that they didn't really want that. They don't think the open world would actually fit it, because it might not fit the whole thing about having to, be this quest-based open world thing in a first-person view. But I think that it was implemented extremely well. In the beta, it's just a small section. It is pretty big for a beta, but it definitely is going to be it's going to be much larger in the actual release, and I'm just more excited to explore Glass and see what else you can do. There's also like a grappling hook you can get in the game, which unfortunately you're not able to get into the beta, but when I actually do get my hands on this game, because this is without a doubt my most anticipated game of the whole year, it's just going to be a lot of fun to just mess around in. This is just a huge open world playground just at your fingertips, and it's just so much fun. In terms of problems, I don't have many. However, there are a few little things to do. Now, the first thing I'm just going to say, and this is the beta, so obviously it is the game does have problems, and this is what developers do to make sure that they know that the fans get exactly what they want. Now, there is this watermark as you're seeing on screen that does jump around. That's just literally, there's nothing you can do about it. It's not a it's not really a complaint at all. It's just something I thought I would address. It is a little bit annoying, but besides that, it's actually, you can overlook it with how good the gameplay and the graphics actually are. Another problem that I kind of run into is that the frame rate is a bit choppy from time to time, especially in much faster paced sections. It just tend to chug a little bit. So this is something that I think that DICE should definitely, work on, just to make it a lot more smooth, make this a more smooth adventure, because it isn't bad, but the frame rate definitely does dip from time to time, and it is quite noticeable. And then the other thing I have is a little bit of a nitpick more than anything, and it's the fact that there is a sprint button in this game, and I was a bit, mixed on my feelings towards this, because the whole idea of having a sprint button kind of breaks the flow of momentum, if you know what I mean. In the first game, there was no sprint button. The faster you went, and with the less distractions, the more you would, you would go faster, and it felt so good. And this time around, there is a sprint button, and at the beginning, I actually thought that you had to hold down the sprint button. That is actually not the case. This time, you actually have to keep tapping. You have to spam down the right trigger, or R2, depending on what system you're using, to actually sprint, and it is quite annoying. But so I kind of wish there wasn't a sprint button. It's not a major complaint. It is useful at times, especially if you're doing the extremely fun time trials, and you're doing just the side activities such as the delivery missions. It's just to get on the leaderboard, and it's very, very addictive. It really is. And in the beta, even when the missions are done, there's about 3 missions, main missions, and there's I would say about 4 side activities. It definitely is addictive to try and get on top of the leaderboards. I actually did break a few world records myself. Probably they've gone by now, but it is just a beta, so it doesn't really matter. And then the last complaint I have is that the loading times are a little bit long. Now, I remember E3 2015, EA actually said there will be no or DICE even, they said there were going to be no loading screens whatsoever, and I called bullshit on that. I knew exactly that there was going to be loading screens in it, and there are, and unfortunately they are quite long. Again, this is just the beta. This probably might not be in the full version. However, it's just something I wanted to address. The loading times were just a little bit too long, a few little extra seconds. But besides that, I've had nothing but fun with this beta, and I'm going to continue to keep playing it for, you know, just for the next few days that is out. I'm loving it, and I can honestly not wait for this game. And as long as they just, DICE, you know, just fix a few of the problems that I have, like the frame rate and just the loading times, it should be a completely smooth experience. Obviously, the whole thing about sprint is going to, you know, stay there, so I'll have to deal with that. I don't have a problem with it too much. The other thing I just wanted to address is a little bit of a nitpick, and the story this time around does seem a lot better. But those are my thoughts on Mirror's Edge Catalyst, guys. I want to know what you thought, if you've played it or if you've seen any gameplay on it. Are you getting Mirror's Edge Catalyst here? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about it. And that's really all I have for now. Thank you guys for watching this review, and I'll see you guys next time. Catch you later, everyone.